Well, welcome to a new edition of our show, Money Means Business. As we always say, business means money. Stability and business mean a lot of money. And also under different circumstances and variables that take place internationally and locally, of course, the economy is going to be affected. Like the situation we've been in for now almost 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic, that is affecting all economies of the world. Actually, also something important that happened last week, exceeding $8 trillion. China's hidden debt is half the size of its economy. And this is what happened with the stock markets dropping last week as traders closed about a volatile week for global equities by booking profits and renewed concerns over troubled China property developer Evergrande. Evergrande's silence over an interest payment that has been due Tuesday fueled investors' angst over the potential fallout from a collapse of the property company. And we've got a lot to say about this, but also we have to discuss tonight the latest developments in the tourism area. Report coming up concerning the issue of Evergrande and the drop of the stock markets last week.
The debt of China's local government financing media rose to about 53 trillion yuan at the end of 2020, up from 16 trillion yuan in 2013. This debt represents about 52% of China's GDP, which is greater than the amount of official Chinese government debt outstanding. Local government financing is a tool used by governments to borrow money without it appearing on their balance sheets, but is viewed as government debt by financial markets. In a report, economists advised the Chinese government to be flexible in dealing with the matter, with revenues under pressure due to the slowdown in land sales. Recently, there are some signs that the Chinese government is making progress in reducing debt, as the recovery of the economy has given scope to focus on addressing financial risks. But growth is currently facing more difficulties, including consumer reluctance to spend, the housing market crisis that has led to a decline in demand for land, energy shortages, and supply chain disruptions. Economists say there is likely to be a need for more official local government bond issuance. Land sales are a major source of revenue for local governments, and sales have slowed as the real estate company crisis worsened. The debt of local financing means is mostly concentrated in the sectors of construction, transportation, and industry. These three sub-industries borrowing about 40% of the total debt under local government financing methods. Tianjin, Beijing, Sichuan, Guangzhou, and Gansu provinces are the most heavily dependent on debt as a share of GDP. About 60% of the bonds issued by local institutions are used to pay off debts due in 2020 and 2021 rather than to fund new investments. China does not have an official account of hidden debts to local governments, as it is technically against the law. Estimates of it on the part of different institutions vary widely.
And welcome back again to Money Means Business. We have online with us Mr. Ayub Mahmoud Ayub, former Minister of Trade Commissioner. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, good evening to you.
Sir, with concerning the Evergrande problem and crisis, actually, and the China hidden debt that reached half of its economy, what are the repercussions on world economies?
May you have the question again, please?
Yes, China's hidden debt has reached half the size of its economy, exceeding $8 trillion due to the problem of Evergrande, and that affected the stock markets last week. How is it affecting stock markets now and the world economies?
It will adversely affect the world economy and The first thing which will be affected is the stock market.
Yes.
It is the barometer of the economy or a barometer of the international economy. These big debts which we have seen lately about China, it were hidden and were only recently it was publicized and we know about it. There are debts which were not officialized, that is, were not mentioned in any official document by the Chinese government. So the Chinese government is in a very critical situation as far as these debts are concerned, and we are quite aware that it can have many repercussions for the international economy, for the international monetary system, and also for the treasure countries and to those countries where there are Chinese projects running on, like the Silk Road or Belt and Belt Road, which we are establishing now from China to Western Europe and to Suez Canal until we reach to Amsterdam or Rotterdam in Holland. It will adversely affect because many of these debts, we call it bad debts. Bad debts means that we cannot get it back. And this will have change the action as far as the economy is concerned, as far as stock market is concerned, and also for the banking system, it can deteriorate and can come down within a few weeks.
Well, sir, also, the land sales now are just, are at trouble because of this situation. Then this is affecting definitely growth that is facing those difficulties. The consumer, due to the consumer reluctance of spending, the housing market crisis that had led to a decline of demand for land, energy shortages and supply chain disruptions. How is it that the Chinese government is going to make up for that and go on in its growth rate,
We all know that the Chinese economy is the second largest economy in the world after the U.S. Normally, so it can be on par with the American economy now. It's a very strong economy. The Chinese government are always purging all these difficulties and coming to terms with what the market is, but there will be casualties in this case because there is some corruption in these very big projects they are established in some African countries and other countries where there is corruption and there is not enough transparency in the projects. And the worst of it is that the psychological factor which discourages investors from investing in Chinese projects or buying from Chinese, and this will be very detrimental to the Chinese exports and standing in the international market.
Definitely. Mr. Ayub, Mahmoud Ayub, thank you very much for being with us. Now, we go for a short break, after which we'll be coming back. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. Well, we've got also to talk about lots of things. We're not going now for a short break, but we're talking about the tourism industry in Egypt. A lot has been happening recently, developments everywhere. Definitely, of course, lots of medical measures have been taken against the COVID-19 in order to secure the visitors to the country, or visitors to, mainly even local visitors to the different places in hotels and more than that. Also, we do have a lot to talk about. You see, we're going to have soon, how soon we don't know yet, but preparations for the inauguration of the great museum, the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum. That is a real gem, and that is one of the most, actually, if not the biggest museum in the world. And it's a gem, and this is a gift to the world. And before talking about any of that, we'll go for a short break, after which we'll be coming back. Stay tuned to us, don't go away.
General Osama Rabia, the head of the Suez Canal Authority, stated that the navigation movement in the canal recorded last Wednesday the highest daily transit rate of ships transiting in the history of the canal, with 87 ships crossing from both directions without waiting, with a total net tonnage of 4.8 million tons. The head of the authority stressed the readiness of the Suez Canal to deal with the various changes witnessed by the global trade movement after the increase in the numerical and absorptive capacity of the canal thanks to the new Suez Canal project. Egypt's exports of gold, jewelry, and precious stones recorded about $750 million during the first 8 months of 2021 compared to $2.212 billion during the same period in 2020, down 66%. The monthly report issued by the Export Council for Building Materials showed a decline in gold, jewelry, and precious stones exports during last June to a record $58 million compared to $172 million during the same month of 2020. Egypt's exports of cast iron and steel witnessed a significant growth during the first 8 months of 2021 by 197% to reach $1.097 billion compared to $369 million during the same period in 2020. Egypt exported cast iron and steel to 76 countries during the period from January-August 2021, including 18 countries that were not exporting during the same period of 2020, where the value of their exports amounted to about $13.437 million. The Egyptian Stock Exchange recorded losses of £29.7 billion during the trading month of last September to close the market capitalization of shares listed in the inside market at £703.3 billion compared to £733 billion by the end of August. At the beginning of last month, the Official Gazette published the Ministry of Finance decision regarding the tax treatment of capital gains resulting from the disposal of securities shares, treasury bills, and stamp tax on dealing in securities. The decision stipulates that the tax will start to be applied by about 10% on a separate base that includes the net profits of trading in the stock exchange from the 1st of next January. The Chinese government has asked its companies and some real estate developers to buy some of the assets of the Evergrande company in an attempt to help it indirectly to get rid of its burdensome debts. The Chinese authorities are hoping that asset purchases by some companies will halt or at least mitigate any social disruption that could occur in the event of an Evergrande collapse. 170 years ago, international expos traveled around the world, passing through 20 countries, launched in 1851 from New York and arrived in Dubai in 2021. Expo is a small arena that includes the latest human developments in any industry, technology, to ice cream and popcorn, and is held on world landmarks every 5 years. Finally, the expo comes for the first time in the Middle East, in Dubai, which has become a civilizational symbol for the region during the past 20 years. Bloomberg agency announced that the energy shortage crisis in Britain is heading to extend outside Britain to include the rest of the whole world. The reason is that it's very difficult to contain energy crises domestically for a long time, particularly when supply chains are fragile, and the scramble to cut investment in fossil fuels is accelerating. According to a report by the Financial Times, Asian and European natural gas buyers are vying for US LNG. It's the war that the Asians won.
Welcome back to Money Means Business, and talking about tourism. Come to Egypt. You'll find everything you want. Well, we have with us our guest, Mr. Ahmed Musallam, tourism expert. Welcome, sir, with us.
Hello, sir.
Been a long time since last time.
Below?
It's been a long time since last time you were here.
Yeah, maybe like more than 6 months or something.
Exactly. It's always a pleasure having you anyway.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, since you're here, you update us on the latest of the tourism movement, what's going on in the tourism industry. We have a lot to talk about, actually.
Yeah. it's already moving a bit. I can say after some research that we're moving a bit in tourism fields. I can find some new markets coming to Egypt, but I noticed something unusual when I was searching on the internet yesterday. I found one of the major companies. It's a British company, and it's marketing and selling tours all around Europe.
Yeah.
I make a search about the Middle East. They give me Greece, Turkey, some of the Jordan, Tunisia, some of the countries around. Then I keep on focusing and searching. I say Egypt. They give me only 2 destinations. The Red Sea, Hurghada, and Sinai, Sharm el-Sheikh.
Well, I want to say
That's
something,
it.
but like it's why really like it's not strange, since England just put us on the red zone when we had small numbers and like things that are happening just like that. How do you explain something like this?
Actually, maybe they were inspecting that coronavirus is spreading in Egypt, but actually everybody noticed that Egyptians are coping with the coronavirus crisis. People are vaccinated now. Even the number of people are getting less. Maybe by the beginning of the winter, it's very small percentage are getting some infections, but it's not as any other place in the whole world.
Yeah.
And that shows that that people are interested in visiting our country in a way. Maybe England raised that kind of red zone alarm, and they say they're going to start sending tourists starting from the 4th of October. And that shows that we don't have much cases that we can be afraid of. And also people in Egypt are getting vaccinated now. Maybe I can say like 20% of the people to 25% are vaccinated now. So, but the only problem here that I cannot understand, that when I try to search on some of the major companies, I found that Egypt is not mentioned much by its classic tours. That's something unusual. I mean, when I search on that major companies, they say Hurghada, Sharm el-Sheikh. So where is our classic tours? For example, the cruise tours. It's not mentioned in that search.
Yeah.
So I start to ask, they say it's not available.
Yeah.
And this is something unusual. We are at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
This is the season now. I can find some companies are working like Italian, Spanish, different nationalities. They're working, they're getting more tourists. And I can find like maybe in some resorts that 40% occupation. And some travel agents are telling that at the beginning of October, there's more booking. That's what I noticed. But actually, I don't understand why we are not coping with the marketing online, because everybody now is booking through online. Major companies, common people who book tours, so they have to book online first.
Yeah.
So I find that something unusual. So what I'm expecting the next day is that we could promote tourism on the way that we promote the movement all along in year 2019 by making some concerts. For example, if we do something to announce that we are beginning tourism in Egypt by this month, for example, this is going to be different.
Yeah.
This is going to be something actually adding to our tourism field, because we know that the market now needs new plans. People all around the world are designing something different in tourism field in order to attract more people.
Yeah.
So that's what we need. We need to make the what we call it our advertisement to that Egypt is ready for tourism. For example, Dubai is making Expo 2020.
Yeah.
They start Expo 2020.
To attract everybody.
Now they are telling that they are welcoming people to come to their country, and we have no precautions. Everybody's vaccinated. That's okay. Let's start. So they don't say that they are starting tourism by the new season, but they say there's the new expo. That means that we are living a common life,
Yeah.
and everything is okay.
So, we have to do something like this.
Yeah, we need
Sometimes,
to do
when you say something,
promotions.
it just came to me, is it a conspiracy theory again, in order to just kind of fight tourism here?
Well, I'll tell you something, conspiracy theory is always existing, but I don't believe in that while I'm working on the right fields.
Okay.
If I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, everything will be okay. I mean, I don't understand it, but we need to make marketing. I usually say marketing. 10 years I'm talking on marketing in a different way.
Then there should be another plan for marketing that to attract
Yeah, because
numbers of tourists.
Because you can see the packages in tourism nowadays, starting in some countries from $350 per week in some countries. And this is very low comparing to a kind of classic cultural tourism. Egypt cultural tourism is a kind of rich tourism. You got to pay a lot of tickets to visit a lot of places and temples and
Of course.
tombs, and it's still very cheap, but it's a new market now after coronavirus. I believe that people is running to do something different to attract more people. I saw one of the main advertisement for tourism are telling don't pay, zero payment,
How?
and later on you're going to pay 1,000 euro.
Of course.
It's like encouraging people to come and pay after like 45 days or 50 days after they take their tour, in a way. And this is something like encouraging by economic way that attracts people who doesn't got the
money power now to do this, but then they'll pay later on when they have it.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
even budget tour, it's
Yeah.
free tour.
Yeah.
As if it's free tour. Come now and pay later. You get what I mean? Yeah, but I believe that we are encouraging our tourism in a different way by the number of museums that was opened lately. I believe Egypt have like now 7 museums are opened, and the new Egyptian museum, the Civilization Museum,
Yeah.
it's attracting more people now. When I go to visit this place, I found like mostly 90% of the people are from the locals, from the Egyptians. So people were interested, even Egyptians, when they heard about it.
So there is a change now, like before, well, mainly Egyptians were not really many interested in going to the Egyptian museums. You would go, but not as now. They are just very much into this.
Yeah, they're mostly interested. Why is that? I believe that Egypt is rich with culture and museums from an old time, not nowadays even. We have more than 106 museums all around Egypt. 46 of them are only in Cairo.
Yeah.
So we are old in the museum field.
Yeah.
We are a kind of cultural country. We actually learn people their civilization, their history. So people are, they are knowing that we have museums all around Egypt, but to announce that we open a new museum, it's like a documenting for your ancient culture to the people that live in Egypt and the foreigners. As if it's announcing that I am rebirthing my culture, rebirthing my history. Because sometimes people are used to the thing,
Yeah.
so they forget about it. I mean, if I'm used to see the pyramid every day,
So it's you exactly forget about it. It's the usual thing that you see. You don't even see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
For example, I don't say, wow, when I see the pyramid. Everybody come to Egypt. When they see the pyramids or see some of our temples or famous tombs, they say, oh, wow, what is that? They never saw something like this before.
Yeah.
So the way of encouraging people to come to the museums, and you know something, even these museums are expensive for Egyptians, and they come. They pay the ticket and come. They like to see what's new in our country.
And
It's
especially
something
after
different.
this, wonderful, it was glamorous, wonderful. I mean, the words escape me. People just were, wow, this is Egypt.
Yeah.
This is us. Then I might as well reconnected with my own history, learn about it and know it. This is, that was also like a wake-up call.
That's true. When you go to Kafr Sheikh or Sharm el Sheikh or Hurghada, you find new museums opened. You find some people who are not used to go to museums, they go and visit and they pay ticket from the locals.
Yeah.
And some of the tourists who's not interested in culture who usually come by the beach for 1 week, like the one that I search about, the two destinations that I search about, they ask, hey, there's a museum here, can I visit that at night? Yes, you can go. And when they go and see the
Yeah.
pieces and antiquities, they get surprised. They never saw something like this before in any other country. I want to see the rest. So they start to book a tour to Cairo or Luxor to see more. And this is a way that I say that we announce to the non-classic people to be classic.
Yes.
I mean, the classic for them is the beach, entertainment, but not to go to classical tourism,
Yeah.
to go to see more about our temples and tombs and history. And this is a way, very important way to encourage that.
We'll talk more about that, but we have a short break with an upcoming report. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're coming back in a moment.
In continuation of the promotional campaign in the Arab market, which was launched as of the first week of last May, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities is intensifying advertising campaigns in the Arab countries on the most important electronic platforms, on social networking sites, and the major search and reservation platforms. Ahmed Youssef, CEO of the Egyptian General Authority for Tourism Activation, pointed out that in light of the authority's interest in using modern promotional means, in light of the increase in the number of internet users in the world, the authority has replaced the traditional means of promoting the implementation of a digital advertising campaign on the most important social network sites and major Google search engines using advertising content. Attractive, specially produced for the Arab market, which includes short films, written content and video ads. Suzanne Mustafa, Director General of Planning and Follow-up and Head of the International Campaign at the authority, explained that this campaign was launched under the slogan, Egypt calls you, your holiday in Egypt, travel Egypt, and will extend for 2 months, noting that this campaign aims to invite Arab tourists to visit Egypt during the summer vacation season and Eid al-Adha. She added that the campaign aims to bring Egypt back into the minds of Arab tourists and attract them to visit it and focus on shedding light on the unique and diverse Egyptian product. It should be noted that the Arab market is one of the important tourist markets for Egyptian tourism, as it represented more than 20% of the incoming tourist movement to Egypt before the corona pandemic crisis. On the other hand, the meeting of the Board of Directors of the Egyptian General Authority for Tourism Activation, headed by Dr. Khaled Al-Anani, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, discussed a number of issues related to mechanisms and proposals for promoting tourism to Egypt more in the coming period. Among the topics discussed was the agenda of the internal events and activities of the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities and those of the various ministries and governorates for the next 3 months to discuss the possibility of benefiting from them in promoting tourism to Egypt. The possibility of organizing a group of important events and activities throughout the year in a number of different tourist governorates to benefit from the returns in shedding light on the various tourist and archaeological components of Egypt was also discussed.
Well, we're back again to My News Business and the event that everybody is waiting for, and that is the inauguration of the GEM, the great the Egyptian Museum that is a gem, and the gift to the world.
The grand opening is something that we are all waiting for more than 2 years now.
Yeah.
You know, after we moved the mummies from the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir to the new Civilization Museum, it was a very great movement, because I believe this is a good movement, because I find that the way that the mummies are shown in the Civilization Museum are totally different than the way they were actually shown on the Egyptian Museum. As if I'm entering a minor valley temple. or a minor king's zone. It's something like as if it's the original tomb that we are visiting. You get what I mean? So it's not humiliating the mummies, it's a way that I show them in an honorable way. And also, people are not allowed even to speak inside. They just see and read and understand and see this amazing history and culture and those ancient achievers, and they are very surprised and they go out peacefully and calm, in a calm way. So this is a way I respect in showing our ancient grandfathers. Some people are not interested in showing that, but this has been a habit from a very long time. I can see all around the museums, we can see some coffins and mummies. So in the country of museums and coffins and mummies and tombs and temples, we don't show mummies. This is something unusual for me. I believe I could not understand or study if I don't see this mummy. In ancient time, we used to see the mummies are shown in an unusual way, and people used to sell mummies. But now we learn, the new generation, to respect this monument and this heritage.
And to act accordingly.
Yeah. So when they are moved, they, you know, as if they inject new blood in Egyptians. Everybody go to visit that. And I believe when the new Egyptian museum will open, the gem in Giza, next to the pyramids of Giza, or Giza Cemetery, I'm going to find some people coming for the first time to see the Solar Boat Museum inside and Tutankhamun inside.
Yeah.
While they were existing in the Egyptian museum, I mean Tutankhamun was in the Egyptian museum in Tahrir, and the solar boat was in Khufu's museum next to the pyramid.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't visit it. I believe when it's opened, mostly people from Egypt will come to see that. You see the new way of showing our monuments, and also people from all around the world. But in fact, this museum is going to be something like something never seen before. I mean, the area inside this museum that can house more than 120,000 pieces of monument by the modern way, by the modern veterans, which is secured that you're not going to touch piece like in the Egyptian museum, in the old Egyptian museum, will amaze people, will attract people's mind. So definitely, if that was opened by this season, I believe by the end of this year it will be opened, I hope so. This will make a move in mostly all the fields, not only tourism.
Definitely. And then it will just, keep those who are trying to, put aside or marginalize our own tourism. Then, that would be non-effective, whatever deploys they are using.
That's true.
Definitely. And then, of course, there were preparations for an Egyptian opera in the inauguration, and with the grandeur of his inauguration.
Yeah,
like
do you
that,
remember
everything.
Aida, for example?
Yeah.
When it was shown in different areas in Egypt, once in Luxor, once in Cairo. Everybody come, people book tickets, very expensive tickets, and tourism were boosting, 89% or something, and hotels. This is a way to attract people. We got to announce that we are here, that we're existing by ourselves. We're not going to wait for the global marketing.
Yes.
Everybody's working for himself.
Yes.
And I'm not waiting to search on some major companies and see Egypt is not available. Not available. Why it's not available?
Definitely.
This is something unusual.
Definitely. But now, with the Egyptian museum, how does it look like with what's in there after they just moved the golden mummies and all the, I'd say, the important pieces that are now adorning the gem and the
Civilization Museum.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
In the Civilization Museum, the story is mentioning everything from prehistoric up till modern days.
Yes.
Up till the time we live. Okay? So we can find, for example, the movement in the ancient statues, the workers. We can find the dynasties, starting from ancient, middle, new kingdom, up to reach Greco-Roman, Coptic, Islamic, all the stages. But in a medium field, like it's not huge museum. Then the mummies are in a different place, very unexposed, protected, shown in a different way. No sound inside this. It's a nearly closed hole, very unique. This is about the Civilization Museum, and it's not housing the number that I can see in the gem, of course. And the gem, there's something different on. You can find a statue for Ramses II that reaches 17 meters long.
Yeah.
You can find the solar boat of King Khufu, which is not supposed to be housed in a museum like this. But the museum is huge. You can find huge statues in this museum, not just common pieces on veterans. This is going to be the new thing in this museum. Of course, the collection of Tutankhamun, which is going to be shown for that.
Yeah.
The tomb that was found intact in 1922, of course, and this is more than 5,000 pieces. So I believe the gem will show Egypt in a different way, will show our monument in a different way. People will be interested in visiting that. Of course, it's secured, air-conditioned, have all the kind of facilities. There's hotels there, there's some restaurants. And it's going to be one visit from this museum to our famous cemetery of Giza, which is the main highlight for Egypt.
Definitely.
I mean, we have
Like,
thousands
people
of-
can come, the airport nearby, and like go around this area. Be the focus if
Yeah.
they just come for that.
We believe by opening the new gem, the one-day trip that is coming close to the airport, which is 50 kilometers, by the way, from Giza. It's called Sphinx Airport. Gonna attract more charter trips to make the one-day trip by visiting this museum, the gem, and of course the Giza plateau, and spend the day and go back by the end of the day by the jet.
Or an
This is-
overnight trip, because how much time would it take to really visit the gem when it's a colossal museum?
I believe it will take more time than the common museum that we spend 3 or
Yeah.
4 hours on. I believe people, if they're interested in seeing everything in this museum, they're going to spend maybe 3 days or something.
Okay.
But in tourism, everything is fixed with a time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have 45 minutes in a place that you have to finish. You're not going to mention all the history in that. You mention the headlines. But we have to show people the importance of this place.
Yeah.
Of course, there will be, of course, an organized trips from the gem to the area around. There is modern wave transportation inside. There is tours inside every 10 minutes.
I
There's-
think the area has changed drastically.
Yeah, of course, and this is will allow more people to get involved in that field,
Yeah.
even to have more intellectual Egyptian guides working in the field, because of course we know that the Egyptian guides in Egypt are very rich in information and know much more about everything, even outside Egypt. I mean, a country that have 40% of the monuments all around the world have to have important guides and knowledgeable guides.
Yeah.
I believe by opening this museum, it's not going to be just a place for the guides to express themselves or to guide the people. It will also be a place that they will study on. It will be an institute for our history, because we got to document our history, which is sometimes forgotten for different nations by not announcing it. I mean, nowadays when I go around and search, I don't find much people from all around the world know much about the Egyptian history. Egypt is well known for the ancient people, for the old people, for the.
And as you
you
said,
know-
we as Egyptians, we have
Yeah.
to document that
That's
and do
true.
it the right way, because those who documented it might be, hiding truth and, changing things, but we can do the right thing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I used to visit Dr. Khalid Al-Anani once from 10 years ago. He
Yeah.
was the manager of the Civilization Museum, and it was not opened yet, but it was finished. I asked him, Doctor, why don't we open this museum? It's amazing. It's an unusual place. He said, you got $1 billion, billion Egyptian pounds. Billion? I said, billion? He said, yes. I need veterans for our museums for $1 billion, for $1 billion Egyptian pounds. That's too much. But nowadays we're opening museum after museum. We're showing that in new vitrines, it's secured in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's cameras there. You cannot find something like what happened in the Egyptian Museum of Tahrir during the revolution time,
Yeah.
when 54 pieces were stolen easily. I mean, those vitrines are not easily broken.
Yeah.
And there's cameras there, there's amazing system for that, and that was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, one paint cost the Egyptian $57 million. The one for Picasso.
Yeah.
And now we don't know, more than 12 years, we don't know where is this piece because of the non-secured museum. Nowadays we have something different.
Things are different, just by different parameters. Or something interesting. There's like someone starting a trend, saying we have now to learn the ancient Egyptian language. Well, this is the base. Why not learning it and saying, well, for those who don't know and say we don't know the sounds, and well, there are villages in Upper Egypt because it's close to the Coptic language.
Yeah.
But then they're just talking the old ancient Egyptian language.
That's true. We can use some of our language, the
Yeah.
common slang language. We use some of it in ancient Egyptian.
Yeah. And
And
we don't know
even-
even that we are just, those are just traced back
Yeah.
to the ancient Egyptians, our ancestors.
You know, Egyptians were interested more about phonetics.
Yeah.
If you see their words, it's something unusual. If they see the word M, for example, it's the owl. So when I listen to the sound of an owl, it makes a word like this. Okay. The eagle makes ak, ak. It's a word like an A, and it's A. The viper snake, it's an F or a V. It makes F. So they were interested more about life and nature.
Yeah.
And from here, they gain that. So if I try to understand the ancient Egyptian words in this way, I'm going to like it. And I'm going to easily understand it and learn it.
Well, it's interesting, the Mao, the Egyptian cat, the Mao cat. It's called the Mao cat. They said, yes, because from the meow, it became a Mao cat. That's the name of this race.
Yeah. And even the ancient Egyptian gods, when you see goddess Sekhmet, and in the same time it turns into Postet,
Yeah.
the leopard, then the cat.
Yeah.
And it's showing even the word Sekhmet, when you mention it, it's a word that shows something like very violent.
Yeah.
And in Arabic, sometimes people say Sakhmat. And Sakhmat means to blow everything, to show something with an unusual paint or a shape that is not right. And this is brought from the face of Sekhmet when she is turning to a leopard, when she is angry. You get what I mean? We're still using some of the words that maybe for some people it's for the first time they hear it, but they're always using it.
Exactly. And they
Yeah.
don't know if it's just like we learn the ancient Egyptian language, and someone suggested, that should be in the curriculum at school, at least to know about it. And then, why not?
And we keep also using the same words. For example, if I say Payam, it's Fayoum, Fayam. If you collect it, it will be the word Fayoum, and it's known as Payam.
Yeah.
All the Egyptian words that we're using have an ancient Egyptian beginning, a root from the ancient Egyptians.
Well, everything starts from Egypt here.
Yeah, of
didn't
course.
it?
Yeah.
Well, despite what they say, when you look in the documents and what's on the museums, you'll know very well, this is why we have to study the language, this is why we have to
I tell
write
you,
our history.
Even the numbers,
Yeah.
you find some numbers are mentioned in the ancient Egyptian way. Some Europeans are mentioning the number very close to that way.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, we ran out of time. We want to talk more about that.
Of course.
Hoping for better times to come, and definitely with the different activities that will take place in the Grand Egyptian Museum and all, things will kick off in a different way.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be open and we are going to talking about that.
Hopefully, Mr. Ahmed Salam, thank you very much for being with us. So
Thank
it's a
you for
pleasure
having me.
you. And thank you for being there. We'll see you again next week, as we always end. God bless Egypt, God bless Egyptians, God bless our president, our army, our white army, and our police. And God bless the world. And we quote from the Holy Quran, ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين. Enter Egypt, God willing, safe. And from the Holy Bible, Mubarak Sha'bi Misr, blessed be Egypt, my people. I'm Nermin Nazim signing off. Goodbye for now.